Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into an updated look at college basketball bracketology. This is 5.0, and because these are happening more frequently, I'm going to do a quick review of all of the games. The last one I did was on Monday, so we're going to look at the games that happened, the ranked games that happened Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We're not going to see the bubble team, but I'll talk about those anyways, and then we're going to go through everything. But I just wanted to do a quick recap on all the ranked teams, what's been happening. Duke, another blowout win over a decent Wake Forest team. Wake Forest, the ACC this year is not good, but still 20-10. Duke is just blowing everyone out. Houston beats Kansas at home. A valiant effort by Kansas. Houston's obviously a really good team. Both Duke and Houston look like they're going to be number one seeds pretty much for sure. You've got Texas A&M beating Auburn, so that was definitely an upset, although in the SEC, winning on the road, very hard thing to do. Auburn, I would still say, as a team that's 15-2 in the SEC, they're still going to be a one seed. They would have to probably lose out and then lose in their first round game of the SEC tournament. BYU beats Iowa State. Tough loss for Iowa State. BYU, what are they sitting on right now? The 5 line? I don't know. BYU is loved analytically. Double overtime game. Iowa State like a fringe 3 seed. Memphis beat UTSA by 5 on the road. Not a very good performance by Memphis. UTSA, not a good basketball team this year at 18 or at 11-18. Purdue destroys Rutgers 100-71. Rutgers they've had a bad year, but still 100 points for Purdue in the Big Ten. Pretty impressive. Kentucky beats LSU. They destroy them by 31. LSU, obviously being in the SEC, they're not a very good team, and then add to the fact that the SEC is really good. Solid win by Kentucky, easily covering that spread. Arizona beats Arizona State. Crazy high-scoring game. We are seeing a lot more high-scoring games, I feel like, this year. It's like college basketball is catching up to the NBA, just more scoring. 113-100, no overtime game. Arizona with a win. Arizona State not very good this year. And then Texas, it's a gauntlet. They beat Mississippi State. Huge bubble win for Texas at 17-13. They are just 6-11 in the SEC, but that is a big win on the road. Mississippi State, a fringe top 25 team. They end up losing that game, but they will still be in the tournament, obviously. And then you've got, how about this? Auburn loses, and then Tennessee loses. Both of them on the road, though. Ole Miss beats Tennessee. Ole Miss, they're a fringe top 25 team themselves. They win that game, coming back in the second half to win. You've got Florida beating Alabama, so Alabama very likely to be a 2 seed now with 7 losses. Could they fall down to a 3? Probably unlikely. I mean, look at that, another high-scoring game, 99-94. Florida possibly on the 1 line now with a win on the road, quad 1 road win for Florida at 13-4 in SEC play. Colorado is terrible. Yeah, Colorado is really bad. 2-17 in the Big 12. Texas Tech possibly trying to creep up to that 2 line. According to the AP poll, they're number 9 right now. They beat Colorado. They didn't cover that spread. They were like 18-point favorites. Clemson beats Boston College. Boston College has been terrible. Clemson 17-2 in the ACC. It's impressive, it is, and they beat Duke earlier in the season. Wisconsin beats Minnesota. It's a solid win on the road. Playing in Minnesota is not the easiest thing, but Minnesota is obviously not a very good team. Maryland beats Michigan. So Maryland, they've had a very solid year. Michigan is really starting to fall off. Michigan won a lot of close games in January and early February. They're starting to lose now, and they've got a game on the road to end the regular season at Michigan State. They might fall down to like a 7 seed, honestly, depending on what they do in the Big Ten Conference Tournament. Louisville also at 17-2. I mean, the ACC, it's just like, what is Louisville 17-2? Clemson is 17-2, and then you've got Duke. It's like, you have Oklahoma. It's crazy. Oklahoma on the bubble at 5-12 in the SEC. They beat Missouri. That's a big win for Oklahoma, beating a top 15 team. And then UConn, right now sitting on the 8-9 line. That's a big win for them. They beat Marquette, who is currently ranked number 20, although they'll probably fall down a little bit there. And then looking at the Thursday games, the only ranked matchup, it is Michigan State, right now sitting on that 2 line, traveling to Iowa. Not a guaranteed win for Michigan State. Certainly, you'd think they'd win that one. Seems like Michigan State this year has won games they're supposed to win, and so they're 7.5-point favorites in that one. But let's take a look at the updated bracket matrix. So this is March 5th. You can see Auburn, a number 1 seed, even with the loss, 27-3, 15-2 in the SEC. They're going to be a 1 seed. Duke, Houston, The argument is the final 1 seed. Right now, I would say it's Florida because Tennessee and Alabama both lost. I would still say either Tennessee or Alabama could be a 1 seed, even though what does Alabama at this point have 7 or 8 losses because of how good the SEC is. It's unlikely, though. I would say right now it's pretty much, to me, a lock that it would be Auburn, Duke, Houston, Florida, and then we'll see what happens in the SEC tournament. Houston, it would at this point be pretty shocking if they didn't end up a 1 seed. Duke and Auburn, same thing. Again, even with Auburn losing that game, they've just got amazing analytics and they've got the record in the toughest conference. Next, you've got Michigan State and Wisconsin. They're both on the 2-line. Michigan State, consensus number 2. Wisconsin, there's some variance with looks like St. John's and Iowa State, although Iowa State with their recent loss probably going to be entrenched to the 3-line. I would say for Michigan State, they've got that game tonight at Iowa, and then they're versus Michigan. If they win those 2 games, they're probably locked into a 2 seed no matter what happens in the Big Ten conference tournament. Wisconsin is, if they're probably, I would imagine, going to be a 3 seed if I had to guess on Wisconsin. But right now, they're slotted as the final 2. St. John's is a 3. They've got the record. They just don't have the necessarily quality wins, and also the analytics don't like them, especially their offensive efficiency. St. John's. I'm a little bit concerned about St. John's when it comes to the tournament. But if I had to predict right now, if I had to predict what it's going to be, I mean, who knows what happens with these conference tournaments. But I think Auburn, Duke, Houston, and Florida are going to be the 1 seeds. I think Alabama, Michigan State, St. John's, and Tennessee are going to be the 2 seeds. That's what I would guess right now. You also do have Iowa State as a 3 seed. Texas Tech, they've had a really good year out of the Big 12. Iowa State had that tough loss at BYU. You've got Kentucky as a 3 seed as well. A&M as a 4 seed. Purdue, Michigan. I would imagine Michigan's going to move down. Especially, my guess is Michigan flips with Maryland beating Michigan on the road. So Michigan moves down to a 5, Maryland moves up to a 4. Arkansas clinging to a 4 seed. Missouri, they just lost. They might move down possibly to a fringe 5, maybe a 6. Marquette also just lost. Clemson possibly will move up to a 4, or they'll stay as a 5. You've got Oregon, St. Mary's. How about St. Mary's this year? Louisville, they've certainly had a very good year in the ACC. UCLA, Mississippi State is a 7. They just lost. We'll see if they move down. They'll probably stay as a 7, though. Kansas, Ole Miss with the big upset win over Tennessee. They may move up to a fringe 6 seed. We'll have to see. Memphis, you've got Illinois, BYU, Gonzaga, UConn. And then let's just go on down to the bubble. You can see the bubble right now. VCU, Indiana, Arkansas, Ohio State, Nebraska, Oklahoma. Indiana faces Ohio State. Both of those teams, that's their last game. That game's at Assembly Hall. So that'll be a very important game for the bubble in terms of that. And then you can just see the other teams. These would be all the auto bids with Drake, UC San Diego, McNeese, Liberty, Yale, High Point, Akron, Arkansas. Arkansas State now slotted in the Sun Belt. Who was the other Sun Belt team? Oh, it's James Madison. Yeah, so Arkansas State now slotted. We'll have to see if they win their conference tournament. I know some of the conference tournaments have started. The main ones happen next week, but some of the lower tier conferences are having their tournaments this week. They kind of always stagger them like that. Lipscomb, Chattanooga, Utah Valley, Towson, Northern Colorado, Robert Morris, Central Connecticut State, Bryant. Yeah, so these are about the same teams, but Bucknell now in the Patriot. So that is just the update in terms of that. And then you've got Boise State, Xavier, and North Carolina. North Carolina, they've been playing better. I mean, if they beat Duke, I'm sure they're going to be in. That's just how it is. The last game of the season, it's at home for them. You've got Texas. They just got a big win. They're on the bubble. Cincinnati, SMU, UC Irvine, basically because there's 2 really good teams out of the Big West this year. But I don't think UC Irvine would get an at-large. They just don't have the analytical, rankings, and just in terms of their conference, obviously the strength of schedule is going to be very bad. Right now, Duke, the number 1 overall team. It's just because they keep blowing everyone out. Houston at number 2, Auburn, Florida. Yeah, I would imagine these are going to be the 4 1 seeds. Auburn is probably still the number 1 overall team, though. Then I would say, I guess, even though Duke, the strength of schedule cannot be good for them, but Duke probably the number 2 team, Houston, and then Florida. Bama, Tennessee, Texas Tech, Arizona. Arizona really liked analytically. Wisconsin, Gonzaga. Gonzaga really loved BYU, Missouri, Purdue, Iowa State, Maryland, Michigan State. The thing you'll see is a lot of these Big Ten teams lower, like Michigan State at number 16, yet they're a fringe 2 seed. Maryland at number 15. I think Maryland is probably going to move up a lot in terms of the seeds. Like they move up, they might end up being a 4 seed in the tournament. 23-7. Illinois, Illinois is they're, to me, they're a team that can have a really good tournament run. They had a really, really bad middle of the year, but they could have a good tournament run. Kentucky, St. John's, 4 losses for St. John's. St. Mary's, just 4 losses as well. But yeah, St. John's, I think, could be a fringe too. It's just their offensive efficiency at 86 in the country. That is not good. Defensive efficiency is number 2. Kansas, Louisville. Louisville has a good record. I mean, that is pretty crazy. Clemson sitting with 5 losses in the ACC, but at number 23. It just goes to show you how bad the conference has been this year. A&M and UCLA as well. And then taking a look at the updated bubble, you've got the last 4 byes: Baylor, San Diego State, Georgia, and Indiana. You've got your last 4 in, so these teams would have to play in the first 4: Ohio State, Arkansas, Nebraska, and Boise State. First 4 out, Oklahoma. This was updated, though, before Oklahoma's win yesterday, so you probably are looking at Oklahoma knocking out Boise State or Nebraska to be the last 4 in after their big win yesterday. Xavier, North Carolina, Texas. This is also possibly Texas moving up a little bit, and then next 4 out, SMU, Cincinnati, Villanova, and Wake Forest. All those teams would probably need runs in their conference tournaments to have a chance of making it. I would imagine there's really not a big change in terms of the overall bracket. You've got Auburn taking on either Creighton or Utah State. Clemson sitting as a 5 seed in this. Purdue as a 4. I'm pretty confident Purdue's probably, no matter what, going to end up as a 4 seed. Clemson, you could maybe make an argument they could move up to a 4. I'd be pretty surprised, though. I mean, they have a good enough record analytically, though. They're outside of the top 20. If you look at all the major metrics, St. Mary's is a 6 seed, Indiana as an 11. Yeah, so with Indiana, it just comes down to, I mean, there's also going to be the Big Ten tournament at play, but if they beat Ohio State, they probably will avoid missing the tournament and also being in the first 4. But if they lose to Ohio State, they probably move to the first 4. And then if they lose in the first round of the, or I guess it would be the second round of the Big Ten tournament, they're probably going to miss the tournament just in general. Kentucky as a 3 seed, I feel pretty confident. I mean, if Kentucky wins the SEC tournament, they're probably going to move up to a 2 seed for sure, but I don't think they're going to. But I would say I feel pretty confident about them being a 3 seed. Illinois is a 7 seed. I think Illinois is they're a 7 seed that could beat a 2 seed like Iowa State, honestly. And then Iowa State, they might fall to a 3, depending. I think that he's probably got St. John's as a 3 in this. That would be my guess. Tennessee is a 1 seed right now. Well, this was before, right? This was before Tennessee's loss last night, or was it 2 nights ago? But yeah, so I would say Tennessee at this point is a 2 seed. BYU is an 8, possibly BYU moving up. It wouldn't surprise me if BYU ended a 7 seed in the Selection Sunday, or maybe even a 6 seed. Missouri is a 5 seed. Michigan is 4. I would imagine Michigan's going to move down to a 5, like I said, and then Maryland moves up. Marquette is a 6 seed. They did just lose as well, but I'd probably say they'd stay on the 6 line. Texas Tech is a 3. You've got Mississippi State as a 7 against West Virginia. Michigan State is a 2. We'll see what happens with Michigan State, but yeah, they're probably going to stay as a 2 as long as they win their final 2 games. You've got Duke taking on UConn or Vanderbilt. UConn just got a decently big win. They might move up to a 7 or stay at an 8. Maryland, I think, probably moves up to a 4. Arizona as a 4 right now. They probably stay there. Georgia, they're like one of the final teams in against UCLA as a 6. I think UCLA is a weak 6. St. John's is a 3. Kansas is a 7. I think Kansas is a strong 7. Florida as a 2. I'm guessing Florida moves up to a 1. You went on the road at Bama. And then you've got Houston as a 1, which I would expect to be in the final bracket. You've got Ole Miss as an 8. Gonzaga as a 9. Ole Miss probably moving up to a 7. That's likely what's going to happen. That's probably where they're going to be in a 7v10 matchup. Gonzaga, they might move up to an 8. It just, their analytics are so good. Oregon as a 5. McNeese as a 12. Texas A&M as a 4 against Lipscomb. Louisville sitting as a 6. Wisconsin as a 3. Yeah, my guess is in the Big Ten, it's probably going to close Wisconsin as a 3, Michigan State as a 2, unless Michigan State goes on a losing streak to end the season. But you've also got Ohio State and Arkansas playing each other in a play-in game there. And then You do have Memphis as a 7, Baylor as a 10, Bama down to a 2. So yeah, that's the current situation we're looking at in terms of the bracketology. But guys, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.